Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog in the animal.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my friend who loves to discover stuff with mushrooms. It's Frank. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm having a real mycelial party over here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I really didn't know where that intro was going to go. At first, I was like, I'm going to say something with discover. The rest will come into play as things do.
Mushrooms.
I'm glad that mushrooms, which is something that you don't get. But that is a Lord of the Rings reference.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. People who know intonation and have seen those movies far too many times, like myself, will know what I'm talking about. Frank, how are you today?
I'm doing great, buddy. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, Frank. I have a beer. You have a beer, I presume.
I
can't
do.
see it,
I do.
Excellent.
I want to hear about yours.
Excellent. Okay, so fun fact. When I said you have a beer, I presume I can't see it. You lifted your hand in what looked like a mime of holding a can because your hand was kind of cupped in a C.
Sure.
And you went and then just scratched your head.
That's right.
And I said, so do you not have a beer? What a weird thing to be like to do. And then immediately after you scratched your head, your hand went down and then you picked up your beer.
My other hand, yeah.
So it's just weird timing. Yes, Frank, I have a beer from the Moby Dick Brewing Company.
Moby Dick Brewing Company.
And I have a reason for this. This is thematic, along with being delicious.
Oh, I think I know what that reason is, but okay.
Okay. Oh,
yeah. Good.
Yeah. Okay. So this is from the Moby Dick Brewing Company, and I'm drinking a Careful Disorder German Pilsner.
Ooh.
Yeah, it is deliciously ordered, I must say. It's very good. I would say it's on the heavier side for a Pilsner.
Interesting.
It's not very light, but it is delectably good. Would get again.
Nice.
Frank. Yeah.
Where did you just pick this up at the grocery store or at
they sell it.
store or whatever?
You can get it at the brewing company.
Got it.
Itself. So it is rather limited to the area. I think.
Is this a New Bedford based?
It is a New Bedford based brewing company. Of course it is. It's Moby Dick.
That's why I figured. Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. Yeah.
Is that a con reference on your part?
It's a bit of con, but I have what we're going to talk about today. It is actually more directly related to what we're talking about today.
Okay.
But it is subtly also con, or maybe it's directly con and subtly the thing we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So
all right.
Yeah.
I am having a Wormtown Brewery Summer Ale.
Oh, it's good.
It is
delicious.
It is time for summer beers. Yeah. And yeah, I always like the Wormtown Summer is good. I don't like it as much as Sam Summer. I don't enjoy it as much as Sam Summer, but it is every bit as quality. It's just a different take on a summer ale. It's a bit more hoppy, but it's quite good. I love their little slogan: "A piece of mass in every glass."
I like that.
Love
it's
it.
Good.
Yeah,
it's excellent. Okay, so Frank, we're here to talk about Star Trek. A departure sometimes from our usual Star Wars. We're here to talk about Star Trek because a couple of episodes ago, I don't even know how many at this point. Let's say 11. I don't know. I revealed to you that I was watching Star Trek Discovery.
Yes.
and I finished said Star Trek Discovery,
Yes.
and also watched an episode of Lower Decks and the first episode of Strange New Worlds. And I've obviously seen a bit of Picard, which I've talked about on a previous episode. So we're here to talk about Star Trek and all the things that I have watched in the short amount of time between these 11 episodes.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, or however many it actually was.
However many it was, yeah.
4, probably.
More like that, yeah.
Yeah,
Closer
okay,
to
great.
that.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's exciting. Yeah, I mean, since we talked last about this, Picard season 2 finished, and Strange New Worlds began. So I've been on that side of things, but I did tell you that I really, really enjoyed the most recent season of Discovery, and I was really eager for you to get there. So remind me where you left off with Discovery. You were in season 1 of Discovery last, correct?
So, well, I don't know. So, like, way back in the day when it came out, I started Discovery, and I'll just recap from our previous episode.
Previously on Beer with Geeks.
Yeah. I started Discovery whenever it came out many years ago. And I got about halfway through season 1, and I lost interest. I was like, this doesn't feel like Star Trek to me. It's dark and somber and not fun. Like, nobody feels fun.
That's right.
Except for Tilly, maybe. And but who like then like weirdly felt out of place because she was the only one having fun.
Correct.
So I never really went back, and then I was interested. I almost went back to watch season 2 because it was Spock and Pike and everything, and I just never got around to it. And then Discovery just kind of got away from me. And then they announced Strange New Worlds, Pike and Spock and everybody having their own show, before the original series. I said, I want to watch that, so I should watch what they were in case it gets referenced, ever so briefly. I'm a completionist that way.
Sure.
So I went back and watched seasons 2, 3, and 4 in pretty rapid succession because I had COVID. So I watched 2 and 3 and half of 4 while I had COVID. And then I finished up 4 in a more moderate amount of time. I don't want to say fell in love with Star Trek again because it sounds like I fell out of love with Star Trek or something. But like Discovery definitely rekindled like, oh man, I really do like Star Trek.
Yeah.
And not in like it's fine. It's like, I'll watch it if it's on. Like, no, I really like Star Trek. And I know more about Star Trek than I thought I did.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was like, I had like opinions, like even about like certain things in like the way that like, like Navarians, I should say, not Vulcan, but like Navar, like, functioned and stuff like that, and like how the Federation should work, and like I was like, oh, so like I really do like Star Trek. I just really need it to be like an optimistic future,
right.
That's really what it boiled down to. Like whether it's long arcs or episodic storytelling or whatever, I just need, at the end of the day, I need people to be like, life is good. It's going to be okay. And even though that can be heavy-handed sometimes, but yeah. So I enjoyed season 2 of Discovery. I guess we can. Do you want to talk about all the seasons, or do you?
Yeah, we might as well. Because I think they're pretty distinct. Season 2, I thought was in some ways I liked it more than season 1. It definitely wasn't as dour. The whole Red Angel thing was interesting, and it was a good sort of mystery to keep me going along. But it still wasn't my favorite.
And I think I could pinpoint why in the way that it doesn't feel like Star Trek, because I actually really liked season 2, especially when I watched it all together. I didn't get lost about like who was what or what their motives were.
That's true. I didn't
that.
binge season 2. I watched it as it was coming out, so that there's a difference there.
Yeah, binging definitely helped. But I think it's a very personal story, and I think the best Star Trek stories are not personal. You watch interpersonalities play off of one another, which is important. but the actual good storytelling is like they're doing their jobs and they're doing it well.
Sure.
Like personal things can happen. Like they can like, oh, it's you. I haven't seen you in 30 years. Oh, we have a child together. Oh, who knew? But like that's not the crux of the story. And season 2 ended up being like, where is my brother? My relationship with Spock. Oh, Ray Angel. Oh, it's. I guess, can we spoil? Yeah, we're going to spoil things.
We're going to spoil it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's my mom who I thought was dead. Like, it just, like, it's a big old universe, and it just got really small in season 2. Like, indescribably small. And so, I liked season 2 quite a bit, but it didn't yet capture the Star Trekkiness I was hoping for.
Sure.
But I did love Spock and Pike.
Yes, I really enjoyed Spock and Pike. Spock took a little bit. This portrayal of Spock took a little bit of time to grow on me, but it got there. Pike was immediately like note
10
perfect.
out of 10. Yep.
Yes.
10 out of 10.
Anson Mount just absolutely owns that role. Our friend Vactor on his Technological podcast said something that I thought he really nailed it. Like, I think in 10 years, this will be the role that Anson Mount is remembered for and known for. Like he just so inhabits that character that especially if Strange New Worlds, has success and continues for a couple of seasons, I think it's like whatever he does, it's going to be, oh, that was the guy that was Pike on Star Trek. Like, I think that's going to be sort of his big role that he's known for.
That's I hope so.
I hope
because he's very talented man, and I mean he was great in Hell on Wheels, was the show he was in, and then the show sucked, but he was good in Inhumans.
Yeah.
He was good at Black Bolt, and so I hope so. But like even just in season 2, and then in the first episode of Strange New Worlds, I was like, is Pike becoming my favorite captain already?
Right? Yeah, like that's
what is happening? Like, because he's. Oh my gosh, he's great.
He's great.
He has this great like energy and love of life and believing in doing the good thing without sleeping with all the aliens. Looking at you, Kirk. Like there's a pureness about Pike that I just love, and I loved it in these two things, and I loved it in the Kelvin universe with Bruce Greenwood. So and so I'm like, all right, if I firmly love him in 2 different universes by 2 different actors,
yep,
I'm pretty sure he's creeping up to be my favorite captain.
Sure,
and that's tough because right now it's Mr. Saru.
Yeah. Oh yes.
No, I don't know.
Great.
Saru's great. He's the best.
I mean, Doug Jones, so great.
I texted you in between 3 when I was watching 3 and 4. I legitimately thought they were going to kill off Saru.
I know.
And so I was like, don't know. Like, I mean, Michael's good and whatever, but like, I'm watching the show for Saru, I think. Like,
nice.
I was kind of like season 2. I felt like I was watching it for Pike mostly, and then Spock, and then Saru, and then maybe Tilly or whatever. And then like, but see, here's the thing about Discovery, going back, is that I don't have an attachment to many of the characters. I think it's been it was so Michael focused for the first 2 seasons that I'm only like now in season 4 just getting to like having a feeling for these other characters.
Yeah, some of the other crew members definitely didn't get their day in the sun as much, and it makes sense. Like one of the big selling points, I guess, of Discovery when it started was it's the first Star Trek show that where the point of view character is not the captain.
Right.
So that they wanted to, pursue that, since that was sort of one of their ideas, that was sort of grounding the whole thing. But I think that they have let the rest of the crew shine a little bit more. And I think that's been for the better. And I think having you want to, in a Star Trek show, you want to feel like the crew.
Right.
Like that's a major thing. Again, like you said before, the interpersonal aspect of it. And I guess really, I think you kind of nailed it there. That season 2, but kind of Discovery in general is very driven by Michael's personal journey, more than a lot of other captains or other point of view characters.
Yeah.
and so that sets it apart. But when we get into season 3, right?
Yeah.
We're still still very much very Michael focused, but
it is and it's not, though.
Right.
And that's what I liked what separated season 3. So like it obviously starts with Michael, and and the rest of the crew show up in the future, almost 1,000 years later, later with her and whatever else. But their whole singular focus is rebuilding Starfleet, right? And rebuilding the Federation. And like where she's still, I would consider the main character, and where she's still the driving force, but it's a unified purpose now. And what I feel like was not like she gets called out for it, right?
Yeah.
Even in the show, they're like, it's like I think it was the president who's like, it was like it's like the Michael show, or whatever the thing is. Like she always goes rogue. Like why is that a thing? Like why are you always going rogue? So I very much enjoyed season 3. I thought Booker was an excellent addition.
he was great.
I was afraid that you were going to kill him off too.
Yep.
And when that happened, I was like, no, like stop killing or nearly killing characters that I actually like. Like, I mean, you're doing your jobs because one, you're tricking me. I do think that they're going away in some capacity.
Yep.
Not. But they do have an attachment to these people.
Yes, exactly.
I swear, if anything happens to Owushigu next season, I'm out of here. Yeah, she's the coolest.
She's so great.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, but I didn't get that until season 4.
That's it. But it finally has hit its stride.
It did. I do think this is going to sound very conservative of me, and you know me because I'm not. But like, it's a little heavy-handed on the current state of politics right now.
Yeah,
like,
but it always has been.
I know, and that's Star Trek, and so I'm not like I'm not opposed to that.
Okay.
But I'm not opposed to non-binary characters or gay characters or anything. Like I don't care about any of that. That's fine. That's fine. That's Star Trek. You're supposed to do that. That's the future.
Exactly.
But in a weird way, it does feel like it's on display instead of being part of the makeup of like the universe in which they inhabit.
So
it feels like they're making commentary instead of it just being.
It's honestly, I don't even think it feels like it's commentary. They do sometimes sort of tokenize these characters a little bit, I think.
That's it. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, look, we have characters that like, and the representation I think is great and is important, but representation needs to be more holistic and more like built into the fabric of like, no, this is just what society looks like in the whatever 35th century, wherever we are now, 1,000 years ahead. Like it needs to be more built in and less making a big deal, almost parading these characters out and being like, look what we did.
Yeah, that's exactly, and
yeah. So I get that.
Very much feels like that, and like that's I don't love that at all. But it doesn't.
Just to play devil's advocate, someone probably said that when it was like, oh my God, Kirk and Uhura kissing. Like we get it.
Yeah, and I get that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, and so, but I think that was like one instance.
Yeah,
and in which, like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not opposed to the stories or the characters. Or
I
the
totally
reason.
get where
It's
you're coming from.
It feels like it does feel like they're being used instead of being like a welcome part of the fabric of the show.
That's what rubs me the wrong way about it, is that I want to see those characters be honestly like Anthony Rapp's character, whose name right now is escaping me, but how him and Wilson Cruz like they're just there, right? Like they're just there and they're married, and it's like not. You see them having banter, or like there's an episode in like I think season 1. It struck me there's a scene where they're just like talking while they're brushing their teeth before they go to bed, and it's just like so normal, so just sort of like run of the mill. Like here's just a married couple having a conversation, and that's where they do it really, really well, and I want to see more of that.
Yep, that's a great
Tig Notaro
example.
character too, like just more of that.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it really, like I said, it's pretty minor in the way as far as my quibbles are concerned, but I find it's cast now that they're like giving them a chance to do something engaging. The effects are great. I think I have enjoyed every story from every season. Going back to my Moby Dick thing, season 4.
Yes.
So Book's homeworld gets destroyed by the 10C, right? Is that what it is?
Yes,
yeah.
10C.
Yeah, 10C. And he's like, and his singular mission is to now destroy the 10C. And I was like, freaking, he's Ahab.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they've done. They've, like, turned him and that other guy with the U on his head, whose name I never bothered to learn because he rubbed me the wrong way. And so, like, that, like, they're the Ahab characters. They've lost something that they cannot reclaim back, and it is the singular focus to destroy this thing. Meanwhile, you have the crew of Discovery, the Ishmael, but like, well, maybe it's not a bad thing, like,
right.
Yeah, so I very much, so that's why I went with the Moby Dick. I went with the Moby Dick.
Nice. I like it. I like it.
He tasks me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great observation. He really is Ahab. Yeah. It really is like him and the doctor or whatever. They are both Ahab, but I would almost say the other guy is more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Book
absolutely
is able to, pull himself away from. He could have gone that way, and he very nearly goes that way, but he is able to put it aside. Michael is able to sort of pull him back from the brink, right? Yep. That's that's really a very good analysis. I like it.
Thank you. It did not come to me while I was watching it. It only came upon reflection. Like it was maybe because I watched it in such, I think I've talked about this before. Like sometimes my mind is completely open to like, let me analyze this and blah, blah, blah. And then for some reason, things that like I loved as a kid or grew up with, like I just watch as a blank slate. Like,
yeah,
I don't
I
need
get
to analyze Star Trek. Like I'm just going to watch it.
Yep.
And then like, but something like I really should be, because like that is, it's going to make it better. Like,
totally.
For me and for everybody. So,
and then one day you just open your fridge, you see a Moby Dick beer, and you're like, I know how I can connect this.
I'm going to connect the beer and to the show. Excellent. Let's do it. Season 4 had a bit of a rival going on, especially towards the end. Denis Villeneuve's arrival with like the other alien communicado. We figure out how to communicate with them. Let's do it with the drips and the beeps and the lights and the whatever.
Yep.
A little. It reminded me of Close Encounters at the same. Like there was like a lot of that happening. But what really struck me was like what really struck me is the writer's room thinking about how would you communicate with a species that you can't actually cross parallels with.
Right.
But it's math, which I thought was awesome because math is universal no matter what universe you're in. That was really cool.
It was
like
very cool.
That was
very
props.
Lots
of props.
It was a very inventive way of like deciphering communication with an alien species. I thought that was very, very cool. Yes, very Close Encounters. That's a good and very Arrival. I definitely got the Arrival vibes when I was watching it.
Even what they look like. Arrival. Arrival vibes. Yeah, and what I also found was cool. I can't remember. It's the book about dinosaurs. Maybe I was reading a book and like the way evolution could have gone. And like it's jellyfish, which I think is really like because like they've been around for so long, and like and like haven't had the need to change, and so you're looking at a universe in which like it's not the fish that crawls up on land, it's the jellyfish.
Sure. Yeah,
or something along those lines. Like where I thought that was also really cool. Like that was some like tentacly monster. It's like no. I think there's actual real thought behind.
Sure.
This,
yes.
In this
yes.
design. Yeah.
There's a lot of thought that goes into everything on this show. Sometimes to a fault. Like sometimes they can get themselves. One of my biggest criticisms of Discovery is that they sometimes can get too much into like the jargon and the like, let's sit here and explain the pseudoscience, the theoretical science behind how this thing works, and sometimes the plot gets caught up in that pseudoscience. And I don't think it's that I personally don't feel like it's that important for me to understand the science of whatever you're devising to be able to follow a story. But on this show, it's sometimes necessary, or you will get lost. And that's a little bit of a critic. I think it's almost like they're too excited about like, oh, we found a way to explain this so that it all connects and it all works. And I give them props for that, but I don't think that's fair to expect everyone to be able to follow it all the way, all the time.
I think that might be a holdover from the original pitch and idea of the show, that it was going to be the Game of Thrones of Star Trek.
I think so.
So I just think, like, if you want this, like, really lived-in world, Lucas called it very something specific when he did it for Star Trek. I mean, for Star Wars. Whew, that was a
used universe.
Used universe. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and so to be, I think that technical jargon is part of the used universe.
I think that's right. I think that's right, and I think that the Game of Thrones aspect of it, because like from season 1 with the spore drive, right, and like let's really explain how the spore drive works. By now, I'm sort of like yada yada spores, yada yada, whatever. We're traveling through mushrooms, whatever.
I don't
it
care.
doesn't.
Yeah, I don't freaking care.
Right.
Yeah.
But they like spent a lot of time in season 1 being like, it's really important that you get how this works. And I'm like, is it though?
I think it is for a particular type of fan.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like,
but that's it. That's it. But it doesn't need to be tied to the plot, right? Like,
no, it doesn't.
You can nerd out on like different kinds of warp nacelles or whatever, and have that be a thing that you get a lot of enjoyment out of. But it's not tied to like how did we get from point A to point B in the plot. And sometimes this show leans a little too much on that, but they've gotten good about taking their foot off of that a bit and letting it breathe more.
I wonder if that is intentional in the way that they want other people to also get excited about that kind of thing.
I think so.
of like the scene in Galaxy Quest where they're like a commander, you know, like where Justin Long's like commander, but like clearly the like this and this and this and this. So like we're wondering where the inconsistency is. You know, when you explain the pseudoscience in the television show, there because maybe there's less inconsistencies because they have it mapped out.
Yes.
And they're telling the audience these things, and so you don't run into issues like that.
I think that is it, is that they're excited that they've found a way to tell a story that doesn't have those inconsistencies because they've thought it through to its end. But it can be hard to follow sometimes. And I don't have a problem with that being there, but when it's like literally tied to, you need to understand this for the story to make sense. Like the plot of a certain episode might be hinging on you understanding this, fake science. And that can be hard sometimes to tie those two things together. But anyway, all that to say, I think they've gotten a lot better about that, and I'm glad to see that. But what did you think of the first episode of Strange New Worlds?
Oh, that's the Star Trek I've been waiting for since they announced Discovery. Like, that's like literally all I've been waiting for. Like, and it wasn't just because I knew some of the characters or like the bridge felt familiar. Like, I don't really care about any of that. Like, it gets fun that it's the Enterprise and it looks fun and fancy, and whatever else, because it's not on a cheap 60s budget or whatever.
Right, sure.
Like, yeah, it's like cool. They did a good job modernizing, quote unquote modernizing it or whatever. And like all that's fun, but it just has this like actual real sense of adventuring. And that's what I love about Star Trek is that like boldly go, like not like boldly like yearn and discuss your feelings or like boldly smolder or whisper while everyone else is talking normal, or like it's just like go and have fun, have an adventure. And yeah, there are stakes, but like there's going to be some philosophy thrown in there. There's going to be a good life lesson, and you're going to see a world that looks exactly like Earth but a little bit of a twist. Like,
totally. And it's even going to be like, the philosophy. There's going to be some heavy-handedness. There's going to be some heavy-handed, like, Pike in that first episode. Spoilers for the first episode of Strange New Worlds. But like, he's talking about humanity's tendency towards war and tearing each other apart, and how we should be, and it's very clearly like this other planet that he's making contact with. He's using Earth conflict as a storytelling device and as a cautionary tale. That's the phrase I'm looking for, to warn them against destroying each other. And I didn't realize this until after. Some of when he shows them footage of conflict on Earth, some of that is actually from the Russian-Ukraine war that's going on right now. Some of that's real footage from like what's happening right now.
Wow, that's which is very intense.
Right,
recent. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I assumed it was real footage, or some of it was real, but I didn't. I was like, not sad. It's not the right word, but like it hit home, like what he was talking about, obviously for very obvious reasons.
Sure,
and I was like, yeah, that's us, baby.
Yeah,
you nailed it.
And like it wasn't subtle. Like it was clear what the showrunners were trying to say to us, but it was well done. And it's like, that's what Star Trek does. That's what I have been, boldly yearning for, to borrow your phrase before. Like it is like what I've wanted. I've wanted more of that philosophy, more of that. I think I called it like Rod Serling sort of storytelling when we talked about it a few weeks ago. And that's what I feel like I got from Strange New Worlds. So I'm excited about that, and I'm looking forward to more of that. I will say, as of this viewing, I've seen episodes 1 and 2, and in episode 2 in particular, there was some stuff, Tim, that I'm excited for you to see because it. You made reference to something already in this conversation that I won't specify what, but you're
Moby Dick.
You're gonna you're going to enjoy certain aspects of episode 2.
Fan-frickin-tastic.
Because of something you mentioned today. So
fantastic. Yeah, I couldn't wait to watch Strange New Worlds, like even though I was watching Discovery, and I was just because I like it. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for it, so like I needed to get it out of my system. And so like now that I saw it, it was great. And I'm like, phew, okay, great. I like need to finish Discovery first.
Right.
We're gonna talk about it.
Just need to get a taste of it, and like I'll come back to it.
Exactly. And so that is my next watch. I'm gonna even watch after we're done here.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yeah. So I loved that, and I did watch the first episode of Lower Decks because I was full of I needed something quick. It was fun.
It's fun.
It was really fun. I don't know what I expected exactly, but it was like a bit of like Harley Quinn mixed with Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, with like it's a little less vulgar than both of those.
Right. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah. I started it after our last conversation when I had some sort of downtime. But before Strange New Worlds started, I was feeling the Star Trek itch, and so I put that on. And I'm only a handful of episodes in, but it's really fun. It maintains that tone you just described. Yeah, I think it definitely got a Harley Quinn and Rick and Morty mix. It's very fun. I really, really enjoy it. It's good. It's really good. I can binge a few of them in a row, and it's not heavy,
No,
but
that's actually why I wanted it. That's why I put it on. Yeah, like I could like look away and know what was happening at the same time.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know why, but I didn't expect it to be set during the Next Generation era of Star Trek, and I just loved that. I just liked seeing that, like those computer modules and like screens in 2D form.
Yeah,
I thought that was fun. It was good fun. So I'm excited for that. And I think what I'm going to end up doing, because I know Picard season 2 just ended and 3 is the final season, I'm going to close out Strange New Worlds and then maybe Lower Decks, depending on how I feel, and then I'll tackle Picard.
Nice.
Just because I technically don't really have to watch it until season 3 rolls around, and I would like it to be semi-fresh in my brain.
Makes sense. That makes sense. They shot 2 and 3 back to back, so that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
that was smart.
Yeah.
Their lead is old. That was very wise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When your lead is 80, just capitalize on that.
Yeah, 80 plus.
Yeah.
He's real up there now. So, excellent. Yeah. Okay. So maybe I will watch that sooner rather than later. So, okay.
Cool.
I think you mentioned that their plan is to like always have a Star Trek going.
I'm speculating that that's the plan because it seems like that is what they're doing. Like it seems like at any given time there is like they literally premiered Strange New Worlds the same day as the Picard finale. Those dropped on the same day. So they're like passing the torch from like, okay, cool, one Trek ends, the next Trek begins. So it appears that way to me anyway. Did you notice that they now have a little bumper thing they play at the beginning on Paramount Plus, kind of like when you watch a Star Wars a thing on Disney Plus, you know how there's that little intro of the lightsaber going around and you see like the different droids and characters. They now have that with the Enterprise flying around.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Yes.
It was very cool.
I expect that will be at the front of all new Star Trek stuff moving forward.
Fantastic.
But it seemed like it began with Strange New Worlds, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, it's funny because I know Discovery's coming to a close at 5, as I think you said, and Picard's closing at 3. So I wonder what's next on their docket, because that only leaves Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, and you definitely can't rotate a whole year off of
Right.
those.
I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more in the works. It does seem like they're doing a lot of like they're interested in, you know, fan service, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I mean that in like a positive way. So I wonder if they will we get a Voyager, you know, sequel? We see the further adventures of Janeway or Captain Sisko from Deep Space Nine or something like that.
Maybe.
You know, or do they spin? They're also very clearly into like sort of the prequel type of stuff. Discovery was technically a prequel to begin with. Strange New Worlds certainly is. So will they, you know, explore other things in that like pre-original series era, or do the sort of between type of thing? What happens between original series and Next Generation? There's a, you know, nice big chunk of time there. Like there's plenty they could do.
I mean, you have the 1,000-year stretch between the Deep Space Nine, let's say, and
where Discovery is now.
Discovery is now in season 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could look at one of the many other ships in the future. Like, you don't have to like follow Discovery. You could do another one of the ships. So yeah, there are a lot of options. You're right. So
I've always thought it what could be a really fun. What's the Marvel? The Marvel like cleanup. What's it called? Like not cleaning crew, but like
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Well, I always thought that
I'll use my one lookup because I can't think of it.
There is in I don't remember if it's Next Gen or Voyager, but there is a ship that does. They're basically time cops.
Damage control.
Damage control. All right. Yes. Marvel Damage Control. That's what I'm thinking of. But there is a, is it U.S.S Kronos? I can't remember. Maybe it's U.S.S Kronos. There is a ship that goes around fixing the timeline.
It's like Legends of Tomorrow, but Star Trek.
Basically. And I think that could be a really, really fun premise for a show, is just follow the crew of that ship. And you can do things like get involved with alternate timelines of, like, you know, if Kirk did something where he was going to mess up the timeline, and let's watch them, you know, fix that and set him back on the right timeline.
It would be cool to actually incorporate old footage from older shows to do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like season 2 of Discovery was like previous on Star Trek, and it was like Pike's pilot episode.
Yes.
Like, that was awesome. That was so good.
That was wild. Like, yeah. So like, I always felt like that could be a really fun premise for a show. That could be an animated show maybe, or it could be a live action show, whatever. But that could be fun. So there's plenty of room for them to play in this sandbox if they want to. I hope that they choose to do that, and I hope that they're, you know, thoughtful about what they choose, and really make it pop. But like this, Strange New Worlds feels like it feels like classic Trek. And I don't just mean that in the sense of the original series, but like classic Star Trek.
It feels
franchise.
like Star Trek. Yeah, it feels like the franchise. Like, yeah, and not that other like Voyager or Deep Space Nine or something, like, it's like they have different flavors.
They do.
But I think there's something very special about the tone set by the original series in Next Generation, because they share it. And
they do.
So, and obviously they depart in some ways from each other, but be true to the purpose of your franchise.
This feels more like a flagship Star Trek show right now. Like, this feels like the anchor point that the rest of other, you know, lower decks and everything else can be sort of satellites around this anchor point. And this feels like the primetime prestige sort of Star Trek series of the moment. I
absolutely agree. Yeah, and I felt that way even before it premiered, and then I saw the first episode, and I was like, yes, this is a yes.
This is it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Frank, tell us where everybody can find us if they want to hear more thoughts about Star Trek and other things that we've talked about in our previous 403 episodes.
Yeah, this is episode 404, not found. You can...
Damn, we should have thought about lost things that we lost and never got back. Missed opportunity.
Oh, well. You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com, at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. You can support us at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. You can rate and review us and subscribe anywhere you find your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify in particular, are great places for ratings and reviews. And you can, of course, follow us at Beer with Geeks. Email us beerwithgeeks@gmail.com. Find the show notes at beerwithgeeks.com. And just keep on listening. Tell your friends, and we will continue to endeavor to continue on this more than 5-year mission to explore strange new podcasts.
Nice. Strange new podcasts. That's us. That's you and me, baby.
Yeah,
facial
man.
hair bros. Yeah. Well, until next time. Cheers.